Hello everybody, Halcorrex here, and welcome to episode 172, Thoughts from the Inner Sphere. And today we're going to be talking about the Dervish. It's one of those mechs. I like the Dervish. It can do a lot of good things. It's not great at everything, not by a long shot, but for some reason it just seems to find a place in my lineup one way or the other. Now, the Dervish has been upgraded with some good stuff and without some of the drawbacks, and we can just discuss here. Now, the 7 Delta Dervish is a 55-ton mech, comes in around 1400 battle value, so pretty close to what our previous mech we talked about, the Trebuchet. And I think the Trebuchet probably has a little more firepower, but it comes at a cost too. So we'll go back and watch that video if you want to. Now, it's a 5A5, so it does have jump jets, which is something the Dervish has had, since the get-go. It has 10 double heat sinks instead of the standard single 10s that it used to have, so there's an upgrade. Yay! 2 thumbs up. It carries around Indosteel. Oh boy, yes indeed, it has Indosteel, which is a nice little addition. So you're basically getting about 2.5 extra tons of savings. And it has 143 points of armor, which is 23 more than it used to have because it's carrying around ferrofibrous armor. So it's been upgraded in that department. So you're taking some of the tonnage you made from the Indosteel, throw some more armor on board, and you gave it some better weapons in one way. It still has the 10 LRM-10 in the right and left torso with a ton of ammo each. Okay, that's standard fare, which used to be the big problem is that most time you take a hit internal and these things would blow up. I've watched too many dervishes become incandescent warriors because they just explode into a big giant fireball. But to protect the warrior now, we have case in both right and left torso. So, hey, that's a major increase. Saving. So you take some of that weight you had before from the Indosteel and you say, all right, we're going to throw a case on board. Hey, we're going to protect that mech warrior. So there we go. There are some good additions. And in addition to that, we now have the 2 medium lasers in the right and left arm. Still standard fare. But we have given it an Streak SRM2 in each arm with a ton of ammo for each one. Don't need a ton of ammo for each one. You can probably take that extra ton you have, drop it down to 1 ton of ammo, and then throw that into more armor. So you're basically going to get about 17, 18 more points of protection on board. So that would be a good deal also. So you'd be running around pretty close to 160 points of armor. Of the 185, I think, is the most you can put on at the 55-tonner. Not very often you see a 55-tonner with 185, but, it can happen. Now, what's my overall thought about the new Dervish, the 7 Delta? I like it. I've used it before many times in a lot of different games. It's not the most hard-hitting mech out there. You might be looking at, let's say, compare it to its brethren out there in the same tonnage bracket. You're looking at Shadowhawks, Griffins, Wolverines, and a lot of times, if I had a choice between a Dervish or a Wolverine, the one with the large laser, I'm taking the Wolverine. But this one is kind of gives you a little bit of fire support options with a flanking force. It's not going to work too well with scouts because it's not that fast. It's mobile, but it's not mobile enough to take on scouts. But it's a good interceptor when it comes to trying to knock somebody off the off course when they're trying to get into your backfield with taking on your fire support mechs. They can do an intercept with this. and it does have enough to firepower to make a light mech think twice, because, you know, with a couple medium lasers and some SRM2s, it can do some damage. It's not going to rip holes into somebody. And if you connect with the two LRM-10s and you get lucky enough that you do, typically you're doing 6 points damage, but it's kind of a crit hunter, crit seeker type thing, you know, with those LRMs. And it can do some good damage if you connect with it. Now, how I always like to use this thing is move in, try to find myself a good place to park it, do some fire support mode. You got some good 12 turns with the two LRM-10s. And like I said, the LRM-10s are not hard-hitting type things, you know, because you get the 5-point shot blocks. And typically, you're going to hit average is about 6 damage. So you're going to do a 5 and a 1. But there's been a few times that 1-point shot has, like, hit somebody in the head and knocked them out, or found somebody's open ammo bay and did a torso crit or a chance critical and got something that snuck through. You know, it's possible. Not probable, but it is possible. I've done it before over the years. You know, you look at 3 decades of playing, anything can happen, and anything can happen to you. But the one thing I do like about it now with the case, and there have been too many times I've watched the Dervish turn into a big fireball. So, you know, you don't have to worry too much about that. Well, you do, but you don't. You know, you don't have to worry about losing a pilot in a big fireball. Now, if somebody does get close, typically when you throw this into your flanking force of your 5/8 movers, I'm typically going to be the one. Will be the one that fires last, because, you know, it's a plinking type weapon systems on board, and you're not going to worry too much about the heat unless you jump. And it does build up, but, you know, it's like everybody that has a little bit better weapon systems will fire first, and then you fire this one. Like the order operations always like to say, it's like guys with the biggest hard-hitting weapons will hit first, and then you just move yourself down the line. And then one of these guys with the SRM2s, streaks, and the LRMs and the medium lasers, this is more or less a plinking type thing where you're looking for crits on somebody. It's like, all right, I hit, and chance critical, maybe chance critical there, here. You're looking for the holes that have been punched into somebody else's mech with the bigger weapon systems. And there's been a few times where, you know, when you put the firing chits out and say, I'm going to fire this mech here, this mech here, this mech here, and you look at it and go, okay, we already wiped that mech out. But there's been times when you get in close enough with the medium lasers and the SRMs, this will be looking for a secondary target for the LRMs. Shooting a little farther downrange to get outside the minimum ranges that you're typically going to find when you're firing the shorter range stuff with the LRMs. Now, there is not too many different variants on this thing. We got the 6M Delta, which was a Star League era, had an XL engines, 12 double heat sinks, had LRM-15s, and 3 tons of ammo plus case. So basically, they have this version, but with XLs, which, you know, its life expectancy is a little bit shorter, but it has LRM-15s. So this goes primary right into the fire support mode. It's not a bad one. I've used it before. It works pretty good. Then we have the 6MR. It's a field refit of the Jihad in 73. It's a standard 6M, which, you know, you find in the 39 book. And replaces the SRMs with medium pulse lasers and double strength heat sinks. So it's a little cooler, but it has to get a little closer. I'm not opposed to the medium pulse lasers, you know, with that version, because then you have a better chance to hit if you get in close with it. And we already talked about the 7D. We got the 8D. This utilizes the newest technology in 3062, has Indo steel, extra light engine. Okay, so now it's carrying around 2 more tons of armor, and it has 2 LRM-15. So basically, it's the Star League version made anew, and it carries around Artemis fire control. And the SRM launchers and medium lasers have been removed for 4 ER medium lasers. I like the concept with the ER medium lasers, or at least 4 medium lasers instead of the SRMs. So I kind of like play with, you know, my variant. I'm going to tell you in a second. Kind of sucks a little bit from both of them. Then you have the 9 Delta version, which is the 8 Delta, but been improved. Had the missile launchers replaced with MML-5s, 5 tons of ammunition, provide flexibility, and it has an additional double heat sink, and has 11.5 tons of improved armor and a targeting computer. Alright, so makes it a little better for hitting. Okay, so it adds up a little bit. Now those are your different variants. Not too many. Oh, there's a custom one here, the Lightbringer. We'll just talk about that. The Solaris version. I think I may have used this one. It has 8 improved jump jets in the torsos, and it has a pair of ER medium lasers, a snub nose PPC, and that's pretty much it. And has coolant pods for the heat. But, you know, that's not a bad one. That's, you know, you're looking at Solaris style mech. Now, what I have done in the past with mine, bring it up here, is I dropped the 2 SRM streaks off of it, replaced them with a couple medium lasers, add more armor on board, and then had a C3 slave. You know, because typically we're running around with, if you had access to a network later on when you had the money to purchase one. But, you know, you're looking at a mech that has a couple LRM-15s, 4 medium lasers. So the heat profile is 20 plus whatever movement modifiers you're going to toss on there. So if you run, you're going to be up 2 in the heat scale. If you jump, you go up 5. But the odds are you're probably not going to shoot the 2 LRM-10s if you jump, most likely. So it is one of those mechs that has some good capability up close, and then you have some little bit of firepower going down range. So it's nothing that is going to really attract a lot of attention, because a lot of times when someone says, oh, I'm shooting 2 LRM-10s, and it's kind of like, okay. And you maybe hit with both of them, and you see how much damage, and they go, oh, 5 and a 1, 5 and a 1. It's not really attracting attention, especially when you got somebody out there that has a bunch of PPCs or, you know, something like that. It's like, oh, or Gauss rifles punching into them. Those things attract more attention than a couple LRM-10s. It's kind of like fire and forget. Like, you fire at them, you may do some damage, and they forget about you because someone else is doing some major damage to them. It's like, oh, well, that Warhammer's got to go. You know, that mentality, or that awesome that's punching them 3 times with the PPCs. You know, that's attracting attention. They're looking at that going, oh, that has to go, and they kind of, the mentality is that they're kind of forgetting about you. And there's a lot of times where the Dervish can just skirt around the battlefield, kind of forgot. And it does, this version has 179 points of armor, which is almost max, which is good, because then you're looking at, if somebody does try to hit you a few times, they can sort of forget about you. You know, you're not going to get a lot of damage done to you. But that is it. That is the Dervish. It's a nice mech. It's not a deal breaker. It's not something that's going to attract attention. It's just kind of a plugger that just moves along through the battlefield, doing its job, and not doing it well, not doing it bad. You know, That's what I kind of like about it. And it's not something that has to be totally ripped apart and put back together to make it look something that is usable in my book. Alright, that's the Dervish. Hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe. Share with all your friends. And we will talk with y'all later. Elk Rex out.